We oftentimes wonder why it seems in Paul's day the gospel seemed to be more effective than we seem to see it being in the world that we live in today. And I don't believe it's because the gospel has changed, and I don't believe that the gospel has lost its power. But I want you to notice that Paul shows us that there are 4 things involved in a full presentation of the gospel. Romans 15, beginning with verse 18. Yet I dare not boast about anything except what Christ has done through me, bringing the Gentiles to God by my message and by the way I worked among them. They were convinced by the power of miraculous signs and wonders and by the power of God's Spirit. In this way, these 4 things, in this way, I have fully presented the good news of Christ from Jerusalem all the way around to Illyricum. Now, I want you to notice, Paul said in this way, these 4 things are involved in a full presentation of the gospel. Number 1, the message. I dare not boast about anything except what Christ has done through me, bringing to the Gentiles to God by my message. All right, so the message has to be correct. The message is one part of a full presentation of the gospel. The second part, he continues, and by the way I worked among them. And by the way I worked among them. So Paul's life of hard work and discipline and his holy life, everything about the hard work and holiness of his lifestyle was part of the presentation of the gospel. So it's not just the message that needs to be correct. It's the messenger has to live correctly. Now we live in a world today where, forgive me, preachers are doing things that when I was a young man, you would never dream of a preacher doing. Preachers want to lay around their house and watch Eat Bulaga. They complain about hard work. They complain about any kind of a challenge that they have to go through, any sufferings, any sacrifice. Paul was never like that. Paul just wanted to preach the gospel, and he worked hard and he lived a holy life. Now, young pastors, please, I know that in the church world today, you want to be a celebrity preacher and you want, to go to the clubs and you want to hang out with the artistas and you want to go to Baraka and hang out on the beaches with the bikinis and, you want to throw back the shooters and please, I get it. It's the passing pleasure of sin. I understand. But don't expect the message to have the same power when the messenger does not live the life. Let me say that again. Don't expect the message to have the same power when the messenger doesn't live the life. It takes the message and a messenger with hard work and discipline and a holy life. The third one, he continues in verse 19. They were convinced by the power of miraculous signs and wonders, not by our persuasive words, not by our cool words and our cool presentations. They were convinced by the power of miraculous signs and wonders. Sometimes, young pastors, it's easy to become a talking head where you just sit around and you talk knowledge, but there's no power. There's no signs and wonders. There's no miracles happening. Forgive me, your persuasive words of man's wisdom are not going to have the same effect as signs and wonders and miracles. And the last one, and by a demonstration of the power of the God's Spirit. By the power of God's Spirit. Now, those 4 things have to go together. You've got to have the right message. You've got to have a messenger who lives the right kind of a life. You've got to have miracles, signs, and wonders, and you've got to have the power of the Holy Spirit. Now, Paul said, in this way, I have fully presented the good news of Jesus. Are we doing it the same way?